It's showtime.
And we're live.
And
Nice.
we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Alan, hey, thanks again for being on today on the segment. I really appreciate it. And we were talking just back here in the green room, as they say, about a lot of things we have in common. So I'm really excited to have you on, and I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Thanks for reaching out. I hadn't heard of you, and then you reached out, and I immediately, when I saw any of your stuff, I was like, I had a really good feeling about you. So I was like happy to come on.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the things we were just talking about that we have in common, we were just talking about the Stoke, and I know for your channel and what you bring to the community is taking that Stoke that we all feel out there on the trails and bringing it to life. And you definitely do that in the channels. It really comes across, and I think that's why. I mean, for me, I'm a subscriber. I like all the videos, but I think that's one of the big reasons why you're growing so fast is because you actually can capture that Stoke.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for stating it that way. I guess I come from a background of having done some amount of not exactly film production, but minor documenting stuff. I used to film interviews and then edit those. So a lot of the times that was kind of a practice that I had, was to capture stuff with a camera, but also be paying attention to the atmosphere and the feeling of that place. So that when I got back into the editing bay, I was always just trying to work to make an edit that conveyed that as much as possible. So I guess I kind of had practiced that. So once I started mountain biking, carrying a GoPro, it just kind of happened.
That's awesome. You know, one of the episodes that really, to me, defines the essence of that is when you guys got the keys. It was, I believe it was you and Tony from the Outsider channel.
Yeah.
You guys got the keys to Sky Park before it opened.
Yeah.
And I was watching the video, and the way you guys had captured that, my heart was racing when you were just going through the village. You know, I felt like I was there with you.
That's funny because I don't want to, I shouldn't ruin it for you, but the irony is that day was it was a ton of work because we actually only did maybe 4 actual runs that day. Because we were often stopping and all those third person shots, you normally can't get that. You can't really get that at Sky Park because they don't really let you session there. And then normally when I'm riding, we're just riding, so to get all the third person shots was really rad to do, and we had a good time doing it. But it was a lot of go film. Oh, I didn't quite clear that jump, so I gotta push back up the thing and let's do it again. I'm serious. Neverland usually takes me about 90 seconds to do, and it took us 2.5 hours, I think, to do. Yeah, but I mean, we still had a really good time. We had a lot of Stoke that day, but I remember the end of that day, we were both beat, and then I remember looking at my Strava, and I was like, I think we did 4 runs.
Yeah, it does take a lot to, you know, put content together and get all those shots. And, you know, when you're in the editing room, it takes hours to stitch it all together. And you don't get to see all the behind the scenes stuff on how long some of that stuff took.
Yeah.
So, but the final product is awesome. And I think one of my favorite quotes on that is, I think it was Neverland. You said, "When I get there, I can't wait to go off that first jump and case the crap out of it."
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah, that's funny because it's kind of that right there to me kind of encapsulates how I look at things like success, right? Because I know that's really what your channel has started out to be about, right? The segments of life and your success in that. And I think for me, the philosophy is that, well, I think a lot of the times we can mistake winning for success. So let me unpack that a little bit. For me, winning is in that moment, right? It's going to a race and getting on the podium. It's that thing, and it's momentary. Whereas I feel like success is something that you build over time, something that just kind of stays with you, if that makes sense.
It does.
So casing that first jump is like not winning, you know, but being successful is like being okay with it, laughing about it, and being like, there's a whole bunch of more jumps down this trail, and I'm
That's
not going to let that one not win, that one fail, you know, like mess me up on all these other opportunities for like for the rest of the trail. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely an awesome mindset to have. You know, you're right. Success definitely isn't an overnight thing. And a lot of the folks that are successful, quote unquote successful, there are so many failures along the way. And they're not failures in the sense that they stopped, they quit. You know, they're just learning steps
Mm-hmm.
to get to the next level. In fact, as an example, when I did go to Sky Park after watching your video, I purposefully took that jump. I mean, not even knowing if I was going to case it or make it. And when I cased it, I felt good. Like, okay, I feel like the next time I'm around here, I'm going to be able to clear that, you know?
Yeah,
So it was definitely a stepping stone.
totally. Totally.
Um, but Alan, for folks who are tuning in, we got a couple guys here that are, looks like they're saying hi and what's up. So, hey guys,
Hey,
thanks for joining. We got Edwin on and a group of writers called Trail Dogs MTB.
hey,
They're
what's
on
up,
right now.
y'all?
It's Alan with MTB. And then, Alan, take us back a little bit, if you don't mind, taking us back to the beginning of the journey, because where you are today, you know, folks like me who are just trying to start all these different platforms look up
Mhm.
to guys like you, and you're doing so many great things, and I want to emulate that. But take us back to maybe the beginning. How did you even get into mountain biking and the trail that it took you on to today?
Okay. Did you want me to talk specifically just about mountain biking, or mountain biking and YouTubing as like together?
Oh, that would be awesome if we could do both. Sure. Yes.
Okay, cool. Um, so actually, like before we got on air, we were talking about some of the aspects of like where we are and where, you know, what we've done in our lives, and how there's often these aspects in our lives that we have no control over, and to some degree we're just kind of fortunate or lucky, or however you want to put it, to have these things come into our lives. And so I work at a software company, and a guy started working there and just seemed really cool. He and I got along pretty well, like right away. Um, and he is an avid mountain biker. And we were just kind of talking, and I was talking to him about how, you know, man, I used to go hiking all the time, and I loved being in the outdoors, and I just, you know, really have kind of let that fall away. And he was like, you know, mountain biking is a really good way to get outdoors. And the nice thing is it's a lot nicer than hiking because you can get out a lot faster, and downhills or coasting, you know, things like that. So he sold me on it, and that's how I got into mountain biking. I don't really know if I would have gotten into mountain biking otherwise. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and like it happened to be that he hired on, he sat near me, and we just happened to get along. And that's what got me into mountain biking.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you remember what that first bike was by chance?
Oh yeah, for sure. He was was a specialized rock hopper. It was like a I want to say it was like a maybe mid 2000s. It was an older thing, 29er. So, you know, if you don't know what that is, it's a hardtail XC bike, you know. And the joke I always make is like it was really good at OTBs. Like that was its favorite. That was its favorite move. I went over the bars on that thing so many times. Uh, but yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Wow. What chance? I mean, what are the chances that somebody would come in and kind of influence you to get into a sport like that? And I know as we're talking about this, there are so many people that were in the same boat. They used to do something, and you know, after college, they get into the work routine. Maybe they get into the family routine, and some of those things just kind of dissipate. But
Mhm.
it was great that you had somebody to kind of nudge you along
Yeah.
and get you down this healthy lifestyle. You know what's great about recently with the pandemic? I feel like there's a lot more people out there really trying to be healthy on the trails,
Yeah.
getting bikes, which is awesome.
Yeah. I think it might be good for the sport. I hope it's good for the sport. Just more people getting into it, and a little bit more diversity. But yeah, I think it's cool. We'll see what happens, like as things like clear up a little bit. But yeah, it's also kind of weird though, because like, you know, things will get shut down. Like right now, like Snow Summit's shut down until like the 20th. At least that's their forecast.
Holy cow. Is that from
Yeah.
the fires and everything, or?
It's from the chance of fire, from the
Mm,
fire risk. The fire risk is so high right now that like national forests are just like shutting down. So Snow Summit being part of that, you know.
mm.
So, you know, nobody go to Sky Park.
Yes.
Yeah,
Terrible place.
it's terrible. Don't go to Sky Park instead. It's terrible up there. But yeah, like after he got me started, like it was funny because I kind of misunderstood what kind of mountain biker I am at that point, you know, because I just saw it as like an alternative to hiking. And at one point, like he encouraged me to race. He said, you know, hey, it's racing's really cool because it connects you with the community a little bit more. There was an enduro race at Vail. I'm sure you all know about the Vail races, and so I went to Vail SoCal Enduro and entered into an enduro race with my
Oh,
29er XC hardtail
holy cow.
and just like tumbled down the mountain. I went up there like a year or two later, and I was like, "How the hell did I ride this stuff?" You know, like the top, the enduro top. Like I remember, like I don't know how I rode that stuff on that bike. Actually, I know how I did. I went over the bars. I straight like in the first section, just over the bars, speed.
OTB all over.
Yeah. But I podiumed. Actually, I podiumed that day. It was a hardtail class. Let me be clear about that. And but then at that point I met like a couple of people, and at that point I really fell fully in love, literally head over heels in love with mountain biking. And I think that's when I really started to realize what kind of mountain biker I am. Just I got a lot more into the adrenaline, into like sending it down chunky stuff and jumps and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that was a huge turning point for me.
Do you think it was the community mixed with the stoke of the mountain biking that
Oh yeah,
really pulled you in?
100%.
Yeah.
The guy that went, that's so funny. It's another kind of just random thing. Uh, the the guy in the hardtail class that just happened to go in front of me ended up is still like a good friend of mine. He's actually in Kansas now, and we haven't seen each other face to face or ridden together for years, but we still stay in contact because we were part of this thing. We survived. I remember like stage one. Nobody's talking. you know you're just waiting to get into the start gate, but then we get to the bottom of the thing, and then we're like talking, we're like, oh my god, and I crashed. And then we were sharing food. He had some pineapple slices and I had something else, and it was just like, and then we were pedaling up together, and that's really just has been mountain biking to me ever since.
Wow, that's awesome. You know that it's definitely a community. The mountain bike community is something that I've experienced, and I'm considering I'm myself a new rider.
Mm.
I went up to the top of the trails up here close to where I live, and the first time I went out, I got a flat tire, and I and I'm like, man, I don't know if this is the sport for me. It was hot, and
Mhm.
but every single mountain biker that came by me stopped, asked me if I was okay. A couple guys even pulled out their packs to see if they had a tube that would fit
Mhm.
my tire. It was I never experienced that in surfing to that
Right.
extent. It
Mhm.
felt like it just felt like a brotherhood.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I like that about it for sure. That like we're all kind of out there together, helping each other out, and but and also like because the trails need maintenance as well, like that aspect of it too, of like all that we all want to give back to the community, and we all want to be like self-sustaining, and I think that's really cool. There's a lot of concept of like you don't just take from this community, you give to this community, and I guess that's kind of like we were talking earlier about like all the new mountain bikers coming into the community. I think that's
Mhm,
kind of the only thing that I get a little bit like skittish about is like,
mhm.
because when I came into it, like I was introduced from my buddy Matt, and he had that about him, and so I like took that as part of the community, and just took that forward, and then found that a lot of other people had that, sense in the mountain biking community. But oftentimes when there's an influx of a lot of people, they don't always have those influencers around them. So yeah.
Yeah, to kind of share that culture with them
Yeah.
as they're getting up and going.
Yeah. But
Yeah, I've got.
I think our culture's strong enough to like influence a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know how you feel when you see them, but I'll be on top of a trail and I'll see a trail builder with their pack and their shovel and everything, and it's just like, whoa, thank you.
Yeah.
You guys are so rad.
Totally. Totally.
It's like seeing it.
One thing I say to people though, and the most underappreciated, but one of the most effective and easy and simple things that you can do to help maintain your trails that anybody can do is clear brush. Like everybody wants to, like we think about trail maintenance and we think shovels and rakes and moving dirt. More often than not, the thing that really needs to be done is clearing brush. And that's the kind of thing you can carry like just hand clippers in your pack, and just like you just spend like 15 minutes clearing one segment of the trail. And that's the thing is it's kind of invisible. You only notice it when people don't do it. Like if you ride Greer, you may not realize that a lot of times those climbing trails, if people aren't clearing those, like you're having to push, like you're getting like hit by them a lot. So like it's invisible. It's kind of a thankless job, but it's actually one that, like, if once you've cleared brush, you understand, and then you appreciate, you can tell when other people have cleared brush. But
Yeah.
the reason I suggest everybody do it is because you can't mess up the trail. Like if you don't know what you're doing with the shovel, you can mess up the trail. Anyway.
Yeah, I know that's a good tip. That's a good tip. And
Yeah.
also, you had some really good tips on one of your latest videos that came out as well, just for mountain bikers. So the 5 easy tips to kind of. so so that was good too.
Yeah.
Let's see. Trail Dogs MTB says, "Hold a trail crew." Looks like they must do some of that. We
Yeah.
got Isaiah Bernstein. He says, "Loving this live. When I was just starting, I would watch good videos." Another one back here. Edwin Granado says, "Let's all ride together." Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Loving it.
But I
So
think that sorry, go ahead.
no, go for it, Al.
I didn't mean to, but like when I was thinking about like clearing brush and the kind of like that's invisible work, it kind of brought me back to what we were talking about beforehand, which was like, building success, and how so much of what we do, if I can connect it to like making a mildly successful YouTube channel and becoming a somewhat okay mountain biker, a lot of what goes into that is just really invisible. um I've had people that'll be like, hey, help me out, help me make my channel bigger, or I want to have what you have. And like I always say, like if you want what somebody else has, look at what they did and do that. And that can be really it can be unattractive to a lot of people, because what that person did, what we do, is a day-to-day thing. It's a little thing. Like one example is, when I make my videos, I will have sometimes 100, 200 clips, right? That come back from a day of riding. And I go through every single clip and I watch the majority of them. And then I make a note on that clip. Not dramatic, not fun, what's not romantic, right? Not glamorous. That's the word I'm looking for. Very unglamorous work. But by doing that, it allows me to see like what content I have, and allows me to review that day and view that day from a point of view that's like outside of me just being there. And that's the first step I take to making any video, right? But you never see that in the end product, right? But if I don't do that, I don't know what's there. I don't know what gems are there. I don't know, what little, like, there's things that I don't always notice, maybe anyway, but it allows me to do that. So like those are the kind of things that are unglamorous, like little tasks that we can do. And I think that's kind of really kind of what goes into that success. And if we could bring it back to like the metaphor of beating your PR, making a PR on a segment, you know, like it's not just about going super crazy fast down that trail. You know, it may mean going and working at a pump track, or it might mean maintaining your bike.
Yeah.
You know, it could mean a lot of things. You know, I don't know about you, but I want to say half the time that I PR a segment, I didn't feel like I was going that fast. And a lot of the times it's because it's an undramatic run, which means it was a really smooth run, you know, which so like I just had the cleanest, most undramatic lines, which a lot of times tends to be the fastest one. So yeah, anyway.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, in the segment videos as they're coming out, people are PRing, but what they don't see is the months and months of training that people have put in. I have athletes right now that have committed to the show, but they're 2 months out because they're conditioning, they're
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
they're practicing their segments and really getting their times down. You know,
Interesting.
so I'm thinking about showing that aspect of that, like giving the folks a peek behind that so that, you know, it's just not every episode there's a new segment and a new segment being one,
Mhm.
but that there's the actual hard work and there's the discipline that goes into committing yourself to focusing on that goal and
Yeah.
just doing what you can to get better at that one thing.
You know, it's funny in, you know, in showbiz for many years, you never wanted to show how the sausage was made.
Right.
But YouTube is a different animal. Like that is what you want. That is like what we love to see on YouTube. We love to see the sausage being made. And I think that's kind of one of the things I really dig about the YouTube community, the YouTube world. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So
No,
I think that's a great idea. I think you should do that.
I'm gonna do it. You heard it here, folks. I'm getting mentor tips from Alan. This was one of the things I was hoping to get off of this interview. um, so take us back. Okay, you've fallen in love with mountain biking.
Mhm.
You're doing it more and more often. And then when did the thought of bringing the Stoke to YouTube, to social media? What sparked that? At one point did that
Yeah.
happen?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's probably already obvious to you and everybody else. I love to tell a story. Like I just like love to talk about stuff. So I've always been a storyteller, and it was just kind of a natural progression from having a camera on me. Like I love GoPro. Like GoPro is the reason that I can do these things, right? GoPro and YouTube. So it just as soon as I started filming stuff, I think one of the very first videos I have, and I don't suggest anybody go look this up, but it's like one of the earliest mountain biking videos. It's like 45 seconds long. And it's like those of you who, the Holder Crooks crew, you know, the four corners, there's like the gap jump. And the story based, like there was, I just told this little tiny story where I couldn't get myself to jump it. I would like come down and I would just like roll over the hump, right? And like clip one is me like rolling over it and like me going, nah, and it's just like I think it just says like it like freezes or something and just like no jump. And then the second one, I actually do it, but I case it and it just says like case. But I do it. So I mean, like in 45 seconds, I tell the story of like I'm scared to hit this jump, but then I hit it, and when I hit it, I case the crap out of it, which is kind of like the story of my life. That story hasn't changed apparently. That's like keep telling the same story, but it started, you know, like it just kind of happened naturally. But then when I really started wanting to do it as a legitimate channel was when I started hearing from people that it helped them. When I started like re-envisioning the channel as a resource for the mountain bike community, for other people that are like me, that are just like slightly less experienced than me, to be able to learn from what I'm learning and also to just be able to like be stoked on it. Like that was like, you know, that's a drug that's hard to put down.
Yeah, no, that's great. Being able to help people and bring value to them. That's
No, no.
that's what brought me to you.
Right on. I just saw Edwin cracked his helmet on that gap jump. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you're all right, Edwin. When did that happen? Oh man, yeah. There's been some bad crashes on that jump, which is like kind of crazy because it's just like this. Have you been to Hulda Crooks, Mark?
Not yet, not yet.
Okay.
Trail Dogs MTB. I was gonna go out there with those guys one of these days soon.
Yeah, it's
Is it
fun.
pretty gnarly out there?
No, it's not gnarly. It is not gnarly at all. It's just like it's super fun, but there's a couple of jumps that like you can get messed up on just because of the way they're set up. But yeah, there's nothing gnarly out there. But it's a lot of fun, yeah.
Then I'll be visiting it soon.
You ride Greer though, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, if you ride Greer, then like yeah, Greer's got some challenging things.
Yeah. That place is a lot of fun, and I feel like being a newish rider that's a great place for me to kind of cut my teeth. And
Oh yeah.
I'm on the brakes a lot more than I'm on the pedals, it seems like, but I'm easing off the brakes now, which is opening up more stoke.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Which is awesome. Hey, I got a guy on here, Andrew Chavers. He is, let me tell you a little bit about this guy. Maybe you have some tips for him. He is on the Murrieta Valley High School mountain bike team, which is awesome. And they've been sidelined because of this whole COVID thing. But this kid, I see him leaving the neighborhood every single morning, just constantly training. And, it seems like with mountain biking, if you want to do it as a career, there's that aspect of being sponsored and being a rider. But it also seems like where this is in today's world, you can take it into so many different avenues. Maybe talk to the different potentials of careers with this sport.
Wow, there's so many. I think I don't know too much about the industry other than just kind of what I'm gleaned from other people who are in the industry. It can be pretty tough. In the industry, there's just we're inside it, so we don't always see how small the industry is, specifically the mountain biking industry. The cycling industry in and of itself is not, it's big, but it's not huge. So there's just, specifically in mountain biking, there's not a ton of money. You and I come out of skateboarding, so right. It's not unlike that, where within skateboarding it's like it seems huge, but like if, for instance, if you look at like skateboarding's like department at Nike compared to like the basketball department at Nike,
right. Yeah,
it's like yes, the skateboard is like in a closet, and then and I think mountain biking is still kind of like that. So there's not really, I hate to go straight to the money, but if we're talking about careers, that's really what you got to look at. That's the metric to look at. That being said, I think there's just an increasing appreciation within the industry for content creators. You can see that in the way that mountain bike pros are doing more YouTube channels, because the industry is kind of waking up to the need for just like content coming out of their individual contributors. And so that's one way to go. I mean, it's essentially just being a YouTuber, using mountain bike as your platform. But other than that, you could become a wrench. I know people who have like at least gotten careers started by being a wrench at a bike shop and then eventually like being a pro wrench. But that's also kind of like, that's kind of tough too, that's like being the sound guy for Metallica, right? Like, or some other big popular band that the young kids know these days.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't know. I hate to say it, but it can be pretty tough to make a career. But I don't know what it looks like now. Like if you're in high school and you have like your whole life in front of me. And also don't really listen to me. Okay. Who was it that was asking that you're asking for? Andrew?
Andrew Chavers. Yeah.
Andrew, do know that I'm an old man. Okay. Who's halfway through his life. So I probably don't see the amount of potential that you have. So like, I think but here's what I would say. If you have a passion for mountain biking, you can find a way. You can find a way to make it work. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Because
You know,
honestly, content creation is not for everybody. You know, being a content creator, you have to be willing to put yourself out there. You got to develop a really tough skin. You have to start becoming like business smart. There's a lot to it, and that can be attractive to somebody, those kind of challenges. So yeah.
yeah, no, that's boy, it's so true. You release a video out there and you're got it on your social media platforms and you're just waiting for the first view and there's nobody watching it yet. You know,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
you get somebody an hour later like, whoa.
Yeah. What I think is funny is like I'll have like a bunch of likes on a video, and I'll as soon as I get like one dislike, I'm like, you know, it'll be like 98.7% likes to like dislikes. And I'll like be thinking about that like 1.3%. I'm like, you know,
You'll be driving down the street like, what the heck did they not
yeah,
like about
yeah.
it?
I mean, I'm not like that anymore. I actually kind of, I actually love the dislikes as much as I like the likes because it's just engagement.
Yeah.
But I used to be like that. Like I used to be like, you didn't like my video.
uh, and looks like Andrew says, too cool. He says, thank you very much, which is great. Got an idea here from James Anos. He says, I bet the segment could host their own ride/race in SoCal. That could be something.
I think it's really interesting that people are starting to like figure out ways to do like either like socially distanced racing or remote racing in some way. You know, actually, I was kind of, I don't know if I should be talking about this, but I was talking with an organization about setting up some sort of remote race or ride or something like that, or almost like a competition sort of thing that you would do through Strava and social media or something like that. But I
Yeah,
think like there's like a lot of creative ways to do that.
that can definitely be done. You know, Isaiah Bernstein here says he'd definitely be in. He says, I'd race. So yeah, I mean, people are out there on the trails. A lot of folks are using Strava. If it happened to be Strava, for example,
Yeah.
that would be a great way to measure your times and put
Hmm.
the trail on a certain segment, and
You
off
know,
they go.
let's plan this right now. I'm not
Okay,
going to do it, but let's plan this right now.
okay, let's do it.
All you gotta do is you gotta make a club,
Okay,
right? You make a club on Strava, and then um, you maybe even like make your own segment that is the race route,
okay,
and then from like you saw like I don't know like if you make it, I don't know if everybody can immediately see it. You'd have to check on this, but
okay.
if you could do that and then say, okay, the route has been released, and then people, and it would be like an established thing, but you like make your own segment or something like that. But then between this time and this time, or this weekend, or within this week, you got to do the segment. And then because it's the club, it'll auto do your leaderboard.
Yeah, I like it. I wrote all that down.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll work. It's just I'm just kind of spitballing right now, but yeah, that would
You
be
know,
cool.
that would be cool. I mean, and then even with the whole aspect of you could do an entry fee for a purse
Mm.
or something, or even get like some local bike shops to maybe sponsor it, and they could
Oh,
put in some gear for some podium spots or what have you.
now
But
you're thinking.
I think that could be done. Alan, let's dive into that a little bit more at another time. Maybe that is
Yeah.
something we can really do. That would be a great idea. Thank you, James Anos, for that idea. Let's see. Going back to the board here, Edwin Granados. I'm a noob, but I do it to get some experience under my belt. That's awesome.
Heck yeah.
Isaiah, they have races with a chip you put on your bike, and you can run it as many times as you want
Hmm.
between a certain time period, and the
Yep.
winner is announced after an hour. Interesting. So the
Yeah.
concept is kind of there, huh?
Yeah, those open race runs are pretty interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And your fastest time is the one that they keep. It's cool.
I like it. I like it. You know, and I think with obviously there, you know, football's come back, but a lot of people aren't watching it. There's, you know, political reasons why they are and political reasons why they are not.
Hmm.
But I think that kids and adults and just people who are into sports, there's a void there that we could potentially fill by just doing some things like this, putting
Totally.
a fun family race on, maybe even talk to a brewery and have it like a fun race, if it
Hmm.
would be another one, another segment we could do. But anyway, just spitballing ideas. uh,
Sausage is being made.
Sausages being made. Sausages being made. Um, Alan, so I know we only have about 10 minutes left in the show.
Sure.
Um, I really wanted to see if we can get into, what's next for Alan MTB. I know that
Mm.
we kind of took everybody through the journey of how you fell in love with mountain biking and the community of mountain biking, the trails and the love and respect for the trails. But now where you are on your multiple platforms, you are one of the folks that we look up to on YouTube to get and glean information on trails. You and Tony from the Outsiders channel do a really
Mm.
good job with this. But what's next for Alan MTB?
Um, in terms of the channel, I want to start varying the content more. Like, actually, that's what I've been doing, for the last couple of months. If I just want to get more into the storytelling, more into getting back to making more like resource oriented content. Like, that's why I did the 5 tips. Um, uh, but I I don't do a lot of planning. um, kind of we were talking about like success and whatnot, a couple of times, and I tend to like look at successes and wins as like things that I like to be surprised by. Like I just so you know, like Mark and I had like an email conversation about like me going and doing a segment, but I never try to PR a segment because that's that's usually when I get hurt.
Right.
But the one thing I didn't say is like I love to be surprised, at the end of a ride when I upload my segment or my Strava, and I'm like, oh look, I got a PR there. Um, so that's generally how I approach life. I try to do good work and then see where that good work leads me to, and also use the work to reveal more of myself to myself, and
Hmm.
that usually kind of leads me to what I want to do next. If I can talk about like long term,
Yeah.
um, so I recently met in person my first like big time YouTuber. And it's not somebody like in mountain biking. He just happened to be mountain biking. But he and his wife have a channel that has, I want to say, 2 million subscribers or something
Holy,
like that.
holy cow.
And if I do the math of my ad, just my ad revenue from YouTube, and I like multiply that out with an exponential aspect to it, to not even 2 million, but like say like 100,000, I could maybe make a living off of that.
Hmm.
So I would love to get to the point where that's kind of my dream at some point, is to be a full-time mountain bike YouTuber or just full-time YouTuber. But I do kind of have golden handcuffs at the moment. Um, Meaning I have a really good paying job, and yeah, all that. So, and I have like a wife and a daughter in college, so there's a lot of things there. Like I can't just like live on like not a lot of money. So that I would love to do that. That would be, and I think like meeting that person. No, it wasn't BCPOV, but that guy's rad. I don't know if you know, I got to ride with BCPOV and Yuka up at Santa's Village. And at Greer, like really rad people, so down to earth. Um, but there was just something about meeting somebody that has that many subscribers and just them kind of being a real human meat person, um, and kind of chatting with them about what the numbers look like. Like you think like, okay, if I have 100 subscribers, this is what my views look like. Or like, I think if you get 1,000 subscribers, right around there, you can start getting ad revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can start monetizing. And you're like, okay, now I'm making $2 a month. Cool. And then you start thinking like, well, if I have 1,000 subscribers now and then I have 10,000 subscribers, does that mean I'm going to make $20 a month? But it doesn't work like that. It's like, it's exponential,
Hmm.
right? You start making $2 a month. And when you have like 10 times as many subscribers, you don't make 10 times as much money. You make like a fair bit more. It's still not much, but like I would love to see that. Yeah,
That
that's
would
where
be
I'd love to.
awesome.
That's where I'd love to end up.
That would be
Yeah.
awesome. Well, you definitely tell a great story on your YouTubes, and it seems like you're also kind of marrying this with a potential. Well, you're actually doing the podcast now. I've actually listened to one on Spotify, I believe,
Mm,
is where I caught one of your podcasts. Are
nice.
you encapsulating that into a certain direction, the podcast, or?
It's kind of in a rebirth phase right now. I'm not really sure where it's going. I'm kind of following the same format that I'd been doing previously, but I was trying to give it a little bit more. I was trying to enrich it a little bit more by doing it fewer times, like every other week instead of every week.
Mhm.
Um, and I wanted to bring more guests on, but I'm a little shy about that for some reason. Like I'm always like, who am I to ask so and so to like be on my podcast? But I think I'm just gonna. I kind of went old school with it again, like a couple of times. Like it used to be like in the truck, like driving to get coffee.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do with it yet. I'm still kind of like reforming that. I don't know if you saw like Paul the punter took like a break from YouTubing for a little bit to kind of rethink his channel.
Mhm.
That's kind of where I'm at with the Air Horn podcast. I know I've got something good there. I've got like a really nice following there, but I want to do something good there. But it's really different, because we're not creating content and then editing it and then publishing it. We're like doing we're doing like this, and I feel like I'm still trying to get my head around like how do you do that in a way that's not just good, but has its own niche, does its own kind of thing that's a little bit different than what anybody else is doing.
Mhm. Earlier we were talking about doing this that you love and telling the story and following people who have been successful. You probably heard recently Joe Rogan, the big podcast
Hmm.
guy. He sold his he sold his channel for $100 million to Spotify,
Hmm.
and that's and in his platform he does it like we're doing it now. He has a guest on, but then it's actually goes over to YouTube as well, so you're getting the podcast or the YouTube. So if you're in the car or if
Yeah.
you're in the office, you could see both. So I can see the air horn doing something like that. I think you had one where you did it was like straight, you're having a cup of coffee and you were talking about things at the coffee shop or something. That
uh, well, I used to, the way it started, I used to be called Raw Vlogs, and I was trying to find a way to utilize the time that I spend driving to work in the morning,
mm,
right? Like, how can I use this time to create content? And at first I just put my phone on the dashboard and talked to it, and then published that. And it was like 12 to 15 minutes for me to get to the coffee house before I got to work. And I would just spiel. And I was actually surprised that people actually liked that. And it kind of just grew out of that. So that's maybe what you're talking about, is like going to the coffee house.
that's it. Yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one. So then air horn was kind of something separate, but you're now. Well, I guess we'll wait and see what you come up
Yeah.
with there. That'll be exciting to see what you do.
Yeah.
We have Isaiah says, Alan, do you do skill classes or training sessions to train up new riders? Ooh, that's a good question.
I don't. I'm not. I don't think I'm anywhere near qualified to teach anybody how to ride. That being said, I'm working. That being said, I'm working on a video right now for like 5 mistakes like beginning mountain bikers make on jumps, just because I'm that and I can speak to that. But like actually training somebody, I wouldn't feel good about doing it because I haven't done any like training courses, like very specific things. Um, but yeah, and if you do take training from anybody, like make sure that they have some sort of certification or something like that. Um, like the reason I say that is because I was a CrossFit trainer for several years,
Oh,
and I went through a lot of training and did a lot of studies to like really know how to work with people doing CrossFit movements. and keeping people safe and just kind of like working with people that way. And if I were to do like mountain biking coaching, I would want to approach it with the same level of care and attention.
That makes sense. Well, while we're on that CrossFit subject, real quick, what do you think about the training for mountain biking to stay in shape? Mountain biking definitely does that, but what about marrying some kind of CrossFit to your mountain biking? What do you think
Yeah,
about
I think everybody should do some sort of training outside of mountain biking, partly because it's good to use mountain biking to like get yourself fitter, to like reduce your, the amount of fat in your body, get stronger and that sort of stuff. But because it's I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's kind of an unnatural position for us to be in. I mean, it's not as bad as road cycling, um, but it's nice to do training that has corrective aspects to it. Things that like open up your hip, open up your chest and your shoulders, because it's really easy for us to kind of get here and our hips to get kind of cramped up.
Mm,
So doing training that has kind of these kind of opening aspects and gives you helps you build muscle, I think is great, because those will also translate back to you being a better rider, and also having more muscle mass and more mobility. That's one of the things people forget about, is working on their flexibility and mobility. All those things will really help you if like when you crash.
mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's smart. The healthier and stronger you are, the quicker you can come back from an injury as well.
totally,
So,
totally.
man, Alan, we are out of time. We're at 8 o'clock right now. Let everybody know out there on YouTube who's going to see this in the years to come. Where can people learn more about Alan? Where can they find you?
On YouTube, just search for MTB Alan, like just like it says under my name there. Let me see if I can point to it.
Yeah.
That just search for that. That's the easiest way to find me on YouTube. On Instagram, somebody has MTB Allen,
No.
so you have to do MTB_Allen. I don't know how many people have tagged that person, but it's
They're like,
MTB_Allen. And those are the two places to find me.
there you
And if you're interested in the podcast, like the Airhorn podcast, I think if you search for like Airhorn MTB or Airhorn Allen, I show up like pretty high on the list. Not everybody's into that, but if you want to check that out too.
Excellent. Yeah, guys, I've definitely checked those out. It's great content. Once again, guys, my guest here, Alan, MTB Alan, thank you so much for everything you're doing. And man, thank you for being so cool and agreeing to be on this. I mean, I just by chance threw it out there and you responded back. So I really appreciate it. What a cool guy. Thank you so much.
This is my pleasure, man. It's really cool talking to you and just kind of meeting you. Yeah.
Nice. Definitely nice to meet you too. Let's do this again. And
Totally.
I'd love to get out on the trails with you. So let's see if we can get that going. And who knows, maybe we will even have MTB Allen / segment race out there in the near future.
Just don't tell me we're doing it.
It'll be a surprise.
Yeah.
Alan, we're going down this trail.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If there's no other last questions for Alan, we'll give him a couple seconds here. And if there isn't, we'll go ahead and sign off. And we really appreciate you guys being on here. And Alan, it's nice to meet you. I'll see if anybody chimes in.
Sure.
And I think they are.
Actually, I don't want. How much do you have time? Because I see a really good question from Trail Dogs MTB,
Absolutely, yes.
which is, what's a good way to stay committed to getting good footage content versus just losing yourself in the ride, so to speak?
Ooh, that is
Do
a
you,
good one.
do you have time?
Yeah, let's go for it.
I
That's a
I
great one.
love this question, because that is the thing. Like, as a mountain biker who loves to mountain bike and somebody who loves to tell stories on video, is like something that I struggled with for a while. Um, it's going to be a personal, like a personal system, but for me, the thing was to find a system of filming that has the least amount of impact on your day of riding. That's one way to do it. That's why, like, I wear a full face helmet anytime I ride, even if I'm climbing in Laguna. You know, I did the San Juan Trail. I climbed the San Juan Trail to Cocktail Rock with a full face helmet on,
Wow.
because I wear the camera on my chin. But that's because like when I used to use a chest mount, I hated wearing the chest mount, and I would only wear the chest mount to film. So I would do like 4 or 5 runs and film them and then put the camera away. So I wouldn't have much content to work with. So find a way that is has a low impact way, but also gets good footage. And for me, that's the chin mount. And I've done videos on that. Like, you know, you can just take your helmet off and film people, all that kind of stuff. You can just look at whatever you want to film. Um, that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is just be okay with just dedicating a day to filming. We talked about it earlier the day Tony and I went and filmed the Sky Park video where they gave us the keys to the kingdom. We knew we weren't going to get a lot of runs. We knew it wasn't going to be a normal day on the trail, but we also just kind of fell in love with you know, instead of losing ourselves to the ride, we lost ourselves to the process of producing a video.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's nicely said.
And if that's a pain to you, being a content creator might not be your bag. If you're like, you have to love the craft, and that's part of the craft. Just like doing those nasty climbs on an enduro day is part of your day mountain biking. Those day, like that is part of the craft of being a content creator.
Alan, when you go out there, like on a day you're out there with Tony, did you have ideas of content that you wanted to get before you got there? I mean, did you envision it on the drive to the location as far as a content creator's perspective?
That was an interesting one because we were both making a video, right?
Right.
And we both needed to make the video we wanted to make out of the footage that we captured, right?
Right.
So we had to do a little bit of negotiating. So I basically had a story outline in my head, which is what you see in that video, which is like me imagining into the future, like what I'm going to do. And
Yes.
Tony had his idea, which was like Sky Park gave us the keys to the kingdom, you know. And so we both kind of discussed that. And then when we were there, we knew, like, we discussed it, and then we basically organized around, if we both film this type of content, like the third person shots and the follow cam and all that kind of stuff, can we both make our episodes out of that footage? And we kind of talked about it. And we are like, yeah, I think we can. And then the only thing we needed to do was to film like the intro, like, you know, this, you might know that couch behind me from that episode.
Oh, is that where that was shot?
Yeah, it was.
He's
Yeah,
looking at
right.
he's looking at the magazine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is still over there actually. But yeah, and I think, and then he ended up filming his intro there too. Did he?
Yeah, I believe so. Um, he had the keys. It was two different ones. One was you were looking at a magazine, or he was looking at a magazine. The other one,
Yeah. Yeah, we
but
were just kind of hanging out. Yeah, that's right. And he was like wanting me to. Now he's Marinara. Now he's Tony
yeah.
Marinara. I don't know
Oh,
if you
no,
like.
he changed it.
Yeah, that's what like I always call him Marinara now. I'm like, what's up, Marinara? Um, but yeah, and so like we just made that happen. Like I don't think he was planning on doing the intro on the couch, but then like once I filmed mine, he was like, oh, I think I'm gonna do mine too. So that's how that worked out.
That's really cool. You know, I think maybe something to add to that, at least from my perspective, I always try to think as I'm driving to the trail, if I have the cameras with me, you know, what is it that I'm trying to bring to the viewer? So if it's a segment, it's going to be, I'm going to highlight a specific trail.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe for yours, it's you're bringing rad videos every week. So when you're getting a chance to shoot, you know, you're thinking of what rad aspects of this video to bring the stoke to you. For Tony, as an example, maybe Tony's is he's bringing the maps to life, as he
Yeah.
says in his. And Trail Dogs, you know, those guys are awesome. If you ever get a chance to ride with them, I highly suggest it. They're just a bunch of fun, rad dudes that are out there to have a great time. And you know, you go out there with them, and everyone's hooting and hollering, and oh, wait a
Nice.
minute, where'd that guy go? You know, and then you're going back trying to find him, and it's just a blast. So maybe that aspect is how can I maybe for him, maybe he is losing himself in the film, and
Mhm.
just bringing the stoke right through the screen,
Yeah.
it's possible.
Yeah.
So
I actually rarely plan my videos out. I like, for me, like they're somewhat vlogish in that, like, I'm just kind of telling you about like where I'm at and what happened. And that's kind of going back to that like task that I do where I call it logging my footage, where I go through all my stuff, you know, and just read all that, because then it just kind of lets me see the story, and then I usually kind of pull a story out of it, you know.
mhm,
uh I kind of like to do it that way. I like it to be like a self-reflection. um I know, like, when Paul the punter does a video, it's a production. Like, if you go on a ride, I haven't done it, but I like have no talk to people who have done it. If you go on a ride with Paul the punter when he's filming a video, you're out there for 6 hours and you're just getting shots. You're not like riding, you
wow,
know. Whereas like I don't plan it, I just go and I like try to capture, like, I like literally what you said earlier. Like, that's what I do, is I try to like capture the stoke and bring it to the channel.
I love it. I love it.
But
Do you
that's my way of doing it, and I think like there's what's cool is there's like so many different ways to do it, and it's cool.
Yeah, I love it. All the sausage being made, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We look like we may have another question from
Sure.
Trail Dogs MTB. If that wasn't the one, I'm not sure. If it is,
Yeah.
guys, go ahead and type that in for us so we could see it.
I should say I did get really good advice from BCPOV, from Eric. And that actually affected how I started editing my videos,
Mm,
where he suggested not only log the footage, but write out a script of like what happened that day. um because there's times when like you don't have the footage to connect the two pieces together, and
mhm.
so a bit of voiceover really kind of helps that. So yeah, so like he kind of gave me that advice. It's funny, I actually like pushed back for a bit. We were like having dinner, and he was like, yeah, you should really write a script, and I was like, no, I don't like that. And Yuka was like, yeah, I don't write a script, I just do whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'm like Yuka. Me and Yuka, we do it the same way. And then later on I was like, I think I'm gonna do it the way Eric does it. And then you can see now Yuka does like her stuff is more scripted now, not her videos, but she has more of like a voiceover to her videos now. So she took his advice too. So yeah,
That's awesome.
do what Eric does.
That's awesome. I saw a video from a guy called Writing with Bobo. I don't know if you've had a chance to
Hiking
see
with Bobo, yeah.
Hiking with Bobo,
Oh yeah,
and
totally.
he scripts out his stuff too. He
Yeah.
has like the full movie script things that they
Hmm.
roll through.
He comes out of that. That's like his former industry is like,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
his stuff is
he's funny because he comes off as like this big goofy guy, and I think he is like kind of that, but he's a smart dude.
yeah, I mean his thumbnails and everything is just I feel like I'm watching something on that could be on television as well. His
Yeah,
stuff. Um, let's see. I think that was it from the Trail Dogs
yeah,
MTV. So, but again, Alan, thanks again, man. I really appreciate it. Let's do this again down
totally.
the line. That would be awesome. And guys, my tagline is always bet on yourself because all that hard work will always pay off. And you have
Thanks.
Alan here with. Go ahead, Alan.
No, I was just gonna say I love that. That's great.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. And then you have Alan. He brings the stoke to you, and is very true. So if you haven't had a chance to watch his videos, please like and subscribe, comment, and then hit that little notification bell on there so you can see when new content comes out. All right, guys. Thanks again, everybody, for being on. Thank you, Alan. Always a pleasure to watch you, but actually get to talk to you. And let's get on the trails together. Let's do it.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. Woohoo! All right, guys. Have a good night. Thanks again, everyone.
Bye, everybody.